Okay, Genesis 36 through 40. Now, first, 36 is about the descendants of Esau, which goes down through his wives and his children and his children and his children, and they dwelt in Mount Seir. And the only thing that was a mystery to me, I don't remember for sure if it's in this book or in another one, but there's Horites in the land, and I'm not sure exactly where origin Horites are from, who their ancestors are, whether it be Shem, Ham, or Japheth. It doesn't mention them and who they are. So then, 37, it's about Jacob and his sons. Joseph, he was feeding a flock and all this, and he had a dream, and then it was about him being ruler over his brethren, and they kind of laughed and mocked him. But Jacob loved Joseph more, and they made him a coat of many colors, and that made them, his brethren, hate him. So he went to go check on them one day to bring their report to see how they was doing in the field, and they saw him and they conspired to kill him. But Reuben told them, let's not kill him, let's just throw him in his pit. And so they did. They threw him in the pit with no water, and they saw Ishmaelites coming through, and so they sold him to them. They sold him into slavery. They was going towards Egypt. And they sold him for 20 pieces of silver. And Reuben returned, and he saw Joseph wasn't in the pit, and he rent his clothes. So he asked them, what'd y'all do with Joseph? Because he told them just to throw him in the pit, but not kill him, and he went his way. And so he saw that they did that. He tore his coat up and dipped it in blood to say that he got ate up by an animal or something. And they told Jacob the news, and he rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his loins and mourned for his son many days. They tried to comfort him, but he couldn't be comforted. And he told him, I'll go down to my grave with my son's mourning. So he wept for him. And the Midianites, which was the Ishmaelites, whatever, sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and a captain of his guard. So Joseph's out of the picture now. Now we've got Judah. So Judah went down from his brethren to a certain Adulamite. Her name is Hira. And he saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, who was Shua, and he took her and went into her. So he went with the Canaanite woman. So he didn't stay with Israelite woman. He went with the Canaanite woman. And she had a son, and his name was And she conceived again, and had a son, and his name was Onan. And had another son, and his name was Shelah. So Judah took a wife for his firstborn whose name was Tamar. Now, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. So Judah told his brother Onan to go to his brother's wife and marry her, and raise up a seed to thy brother. So in their traditions, when a man dies, his brother is to take his wife. So, but he knew the seed shouldn't be his. So he went into her, and he spilled his seed on the ground, lest he should give seed to his brother. So basically, when they was in intercourse, he pulled out and went on the ground. And the Lord didn't like that, so he killed him. And Judah told Tamar, I'll give you, remain a widow at your father's house till Shelah, my son, be grown, unless he dies also. And Tamar went and stayed in her father's house. And in the process, Judah's wife died. And he was comforted, went up to his sheep shearers to Timoth, and he and his friends Hira, the Adulamite, and has told Tamar, saying, Behold, your father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. So she put off her widow garment and covered her face with a veil and wrapped herself. She dressed up like a harlot. And she went out because she was just upset because Judah didn't give her his youngest son to be her husband. So he saw her all dressed up, and he didn't know it was her. So he turned away and asked her, let me come into you. What will your wages be? He wanted some goods. And he told her, I'll give you a kid from the flock. And then she told him, she wants his signet and his bracelets and his staff from his hand. So he gave it to her, and he went in to her, and she conceived and had a kid. And she went away, and she laid her veil from her and put on a garment of her widowhood. So he sent the goat to her by his friend, and she to receive it as pledge, but he couldn't find her. So he asked the men, "Where's the harlot that was by the way?" And they told him there's no harlot here. So he, I want to give her something, lest we'd be ashamed. I told her we'd give her something. I'd give her a kid goat. So just think about that. He owed her something. He didn't want to be ashamed by not giving what he owed. A lot of us take the easy way out. We don't, we got an oath to pay something. We don't pay it. We just, that was his pride. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So then 3 months later, and then they found out Tamar was pregnant. And they told him, she played a harlot and she's with child by whoredom. And he heard it and he said, "Bring her forth and let her be burnt." This is what Judah said now. So they brought her forth and sent her to her father-in-law, saying, "By the man, who's these kids that you had? Who's the man that you had these kids by?" And she said, "Discern, I pray thee, whose are these, the signet and bracelet and staff?" And he saw him and knew him as his. And he said, "She's been more righteous than I, because I gave her not my son." And he knew her again no more. And what that means, he knew her again no more. He didn't have sex with her no more. And she had kids, and she had twins. But just think about that, though. He was supposed to be righteous. He was going to burn her for her getting pregnant by somebody, not waiting for his younger son. And then his dirt came out from him being the one sleeping with her. People put on this persona like they're so self-righteous and all this stuff, and he's got dirt too. And it's like we look at people and Christians, all this stuff, everybody's got dirt. There's nobody has a right to be self-righteous and say what people need to be doing and how people are judged and to condemn people for what they do when they got the same dirt that they got. And that's the truth. So Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and he's in Potiphar's house, and he was a servant. And, the Lord was with Joseph, and he was prosperous. He blessed everything he did. So the master saw the Lord was with him. Now the master saw this, and how the Lord made everything for Joseph to prosper, and he found grace in the master's sight and he served him. And he made him the overseer of his house, and put everything he had into his hand. See, if God's with somebody, he'll make your hands prosperous, and you'll find grace in other people's eyes. You'll move up in the world, you move up in your jobs, all that. So then the master's wife saw her, and she wanted him. So she told him, to lie with me, and he refused. My master's put everything in my hands, and I don't, I ain't messing this up. And, how can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? And it came to pass, she spoke to Joseph every day, but he didn't listen to her. He didn't pay her no attention. She was wanting him. And I'm sure she looked good. I mean, for us to be in something and somebody just try to throw themselves at us, it'd be hard to not just jump it, And he did. He resisted. So then she caught him by his garment and told him to lie with her, and he ran. But he left his garment in her hand. So she screamed and pretended like he was trying to rape her and all this stuff, and the men came in and arrested him. So he's in prison now. And God, like I say, was with Joseph, so he, found favor in the prison guard. So the prison guard made him pretty good, made him an important person in the prison and stuff, and made him the overseer of the prison, basically. But he, was still in prison, but he didn't, he had it easy. He didn't have nothing going on with him, but he wanted out. So then Pharaoh was angry at his butler and his baker, so they sent them in prison. And like I say, Joseph was charged to serve the people, and they continued to season in the ward or whatever. And then Joseph dreamed a dream. No, they dreamed a dream. Sorry, because Joseph, he could interpret dreams. So the baker and the butler dreamed a dream, and they woke up and they didn't know what to think. And then Joseph told them, "Well, I'll tell you my dream if you remember me." So they told him, and then the butler. Basically, Joseph told him the butler would be restored and the baker would be killed. So, that happened, and the butler was restored to his position, and then the baker was hung. But the butler didn't remember Joseph, and he forgot him. So Joseph wanted the butler to remember him, say a word about him to get him out. So basically this is, Joseph had brothers. They hated him because his father favored him. So I think with being a parent, you're going to have love for your children. You'll have different loves for each child because they're a different individual. But I don't believe you should show favoritism to your children because they're all a gift from God. I mean, I don't know if God shows favoritism toward us. Like, who's the better child compared to this Christian and that Christian. And then it shows that your brethren will hate you. You're going to have friends and family that's going to hate you, envy you, be jealous, and just completely dislike you. So it's good to love people, but don't have a full up and trust to anybody except God. And then God was with Joseph. Once again, he went through stuff. He was sold into slavery, hated by his brethren, put in prison. But he kept having faith in God and kept looking towards God. Even though he went through hard things. It's like, if we worship God, we're still going to go through hard things. Like anybody else would if that's worshiping somebody else. And once again, what's the difference between worshiping other gods and then the real God if you're going to go through things? And once again, it's peace. There's going to be hard times for all of us, but we just got to have faith and he'll bring us through it. Just like he brought Joseph through it. Because soon Joseph's going to be the governor of Egypt. Went from being a child, sold into slavery by his brethren, put in prison. God has a control of everything, and he does it for a purpose. And that purpose is to have Israel down there for that 400 years of being in bondage, which was spoken of God to Abraham way before. So no matter what we're going through and how hard of a time we're having, we may not like the situations we're in, like the places we're in, living conditions, work, our vehicles, the people around us. But God puts us in a position for a reason, puts us in the place that we are today for a reason, for his purpose. We don't know what his purpose is. Sometimes we don't like his purpose and what he does to us and why he puts us in the places we are. Sometimes we don't like it. But at the end of the day, we must be thankful for the places he puts us in and thankful for his purpose, because his purpose is an everlasting purpose. And that's Genesis 36 through 40.